Consider the 3DS the console of disappointment. People will probably get pissed at me for this. Like, how dare you? It's sacrilege! But I'm gonna tell you something. The DS was far better than the 3DS. It's just my opinion. The DS had far better games than the 3DS. And we'll be going over all of these games, and we'll be going over my opinion, and of course the public opinion on these games. Star Fox 64 3D, it's not Star Fox 64 on the 3DS. It's nothing really new or special. Doesn't really add anything. It's a Star Fox 64, but it's on the 3DS. Star Fox 64 is generally a well-received game, so if you were like a fan of Star Fox, you probably would have loved this no matter what. I had the game, but then the 3DS stopped working, so I can't really abandon the 3DS, so I didn't really have a chance to play the game a lot, so yeah. Super Mario 3D Land, of course, Mario 64 DS was much better, even though it was a Mario 64 remake for the 3DS and for the original DS, that was a much better game. It had all these little mini games you could play on it, and Mario 3D Land lacked that as well. And the game was super easy. Mario Kart 7 easily one of the worst Mario Kart games. Mario Kart 8 was way better. Kid Icarus Uprising, well, this is considered a bad game. The 3DS means death. This is Kid Icarus Uprising is like one of the few games that everybody says they want ported to the Switch because they love the game. I will not consider this as a 3DS means death game. So yeah, X for Kid Icarus Uprising and Star Fox 64, because Star Fox 64 3D is the Star Fox 64 on the 3DS. We're not going to be counting that either. Mario Tennis Open. Yeah, Mario Tennis games have gotten way worse. I know the Wii Switch games are even worse. So yeah, another game that has been ruined by the so-called. This is why do people of my generation play the 3DS? And of course, I guess because of their childhood and stuff, blah blah blah. We grew up with the 3DS. I as well. But yeah, next to the new Super Mario Bros. 2, easily far worse than new Super Mario Bros. 1. Stick us out. No question, worst favorite Mario game. I don't know to say Fire Emblem before Fire Emblem Awakening, but every Fire Emblem fan agrees this is probably one of the best Fire Emblem games ever made. So this is the third game. Well, we'll disagree if the 3DS means death thing. Fire Emblem Luigi's Mansion Dark Blue, of course. It made Luigi's Mansion kind of generic and not as great as the first Luigi's Mansion. So of course, as well, Animal Crossing New Horizon, New Leaf, definitely is not a bad game. I would put it as the fourth game where the 3DS did not kill the series. Again, same thing with the whole rant. I guess we gotta hate Animal Crossing New Leaf now because apparently ruined the series as well. But yeah, I don't understand old Animal Crossing fans and how they say hate the newer games. Maybe it's a nostalgia thing. But yeah, Mario Luigi Dream Team definitely. Mario Luigi games have gotten worse since then. We're not counting the two remakes, obviously. We're only counting this and Paper Jam. Paper Jam was the soulless garbage. So definitely, the Luigi's Mansion Dream Team was kind of like a weird game. We had like touches Luigi's Mansion and Luigi's like this game was freaking weird. Okay, so yeah, definitely Pokemon X and Y, definitely the most half-baked Pokemon games. But considering what Pokemon had to come, they're definitely way better than the newer Pokemon games, obviously. But they were still, they were a bit revolutionary for the time, being the first 3D games. But as we all know, the reception for Kalos isn't very strong. Yoshi's New Island, obviously the worst Yoshi's Island game ever. You know, I never played any Yoshi games. I played Yoshi's Woolly World a little bit. I do have Yoshi's Woolly World, but I didn't really play. Yeah, same for the Wii U. It's just a lot of these games of the Wii U and the 3DS were just disappointing. Okay, Yoshi's New Island. They removed the museum thing. Like, why? They made the game even worse. Like, all we had to do was make a sequel to Yoshi's Island DS, or a game like Yoshi's Island DS but in 3D. Okay, Kirby Triple Deluxe. Uh, Obviously they're not gonna put Kirby Planet Overbot though, because that game was actually very well received. Steve. But Kirby Triple Deluxe is seen as like one of the brand titles of Kirby. Like no one's gonna say, "Oh yeah, I love Kirby Triple Deluxe." And when, there are probably people who do have a special connection to that game. Like for example, there are a lot of people who don't like Squeak Squad, but do like the Kirby games coming afterwards, like Kirby Superstar Ultra and stuff. Then you have Super Smash Bros. 3DS. Yeah, actually, this is actually I think the better version of Smash Bros. 4, Smash 4. But Smash 4 is kind of like the forgettable era of Smash Bros. I think the 3DS was remembered way more as people played it because you could play it portable. I think that's what made the 3DS version better. But it is definitely the second weakest entry in the Smash series, behind the Wii U version. Then CB Robo Zip Blast killed the ZB Robo series. Hey Pikmin, worst hit Pikmin game ever. Samus Returns. I'm not a Metroid fan, but I know a lot of people who play Metroid actually did like this game. And Dylan's Deadbeat Breakers don't know why that game is down. I have never played that game before. I have never played a Dylan's game ever. It says, why do Nintendo's... It's the same thing. It's the weakest Nintendo hardware ever put out by anyone else. That and the Wii U. Okay, the Wii U, I think, was like... It was like the weak era of Nintendo. Like, all of the games that Nintendo put out were like, meh. Like, I bought them, played them for like a couple hours, like, these games suck. Whereas Nintendo will put out better games. It's just like the Wii U and 3DS era of Nintendo. There's a lot of incomplete games from that era. Okay, I never had the drive to complete any of those games. And also that's when I stopped really being interested in games overall. I think the only era of gaming that's worse is modern gaming. Modern gaming, I think, is the only era that's worse because you have all the tools in the world to make good games. And they would rather make games for the microtransactions and 200 gigabytes. Half the gigabytes are for microtransaction skins and guns in the game. Not actually because they want to make the game good, it's sweet or fun. Well, far past that, we're just greed. It's kind of like Mr. Krabs is running the gaming industry at this point. I think that's who's really behind the gaming industry because gaming industry has become so greedy and so selfish that But despite my, unwarranted hate for the 3DS, the 3DS does have some gems like Tadashi Life, Pokemon Rumble Blast. It has Pokemon Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Those games are all pretty great. But the 3DS era of gaming, we can also include the newer Mystery Dungeon games of the 3DS. Those games are relatively disappointing, and they ruined the Mystery Dungeon series for good. I know a lot of people do have connection to the 3DS. It's just the 3DS, in my opinion, is not my favorite console in the world. Okay? It does have good memories, like of the DS, but the DS was a far better console than the 3DS. And that is just my opinion on that whole issue. The 3DS had more soul, love, and fun care put into it. Heck, I could even argue the Switch is a better console than the 3DS because Mario Odyssey is a far better game. Of course, I'm not young anymore, so I don't play games like 14 hours a day, thank God. But I think the 3DS is what really killed the gaming for me, because the 3DS was such a disappointing console. Like, it did have some fun games that I loved to play on there, but it's like, the games were not that interesting. And there were some games like I couldn't beat, like Fire Awakening, because it was too difficult. Like, there was like a level in the game that was too difficult, so I couldn't beat the game. It's just around this era of gaming, I stopped playing games so super much. I do play games every once in a while, but it's not as common as it used to be. And that's it about this video here. Goodbye.